What kind of person screams at a stranger for not bowing to their every whim? That's what I wondered when HOA Karen's voice hit me like a freight train. Her floral muumuu flapping in the wind as she blocked the gate to Willow Creek Estates. I'd just moved to this quiet suburban neighborhood. My beat-up hatchback loaded with boxes, expecting a fresh start. Instead, I got her 5 feet of fury, red-faced and waving a clipboard like a battle axe. "You can't come in," she bellowed, her jowls trembling. "This is a private community, and I don't know you." I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles whitening. I'd shown her my lease agreement, my ID, everything. But HOA, self-appointed queen of the HOA, wasn't having it. Her eyes narrowed, sizing me up like I was a thief casing her precious gated kingdom. All I wanted was to get to my new home. I didn't know then that this moment would unravel her reign, expose a lie that had festered for years, and leave her standing alone in the dust of her own making. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. "Ma'am, I'm Ellie Carter. I signed the lease last week. The landlord gave me the gate code." I held up my phone, showing the email with the code. HOA snatched it, her manicured nails clicking like talons. "This doesn't prove anything," she snapped, tossing it back through my car window. "You could have faked it. People sneak in here all the time, thinking they can live in our community without paying dues." Her voice carried, drawing curious glances from a jogger across the street. I noticed a man in a golf cart slow down, his head tilted our way. Great. An audience. I wasn't here for drama, but HOA was serving it up like a buffet. "Look," I said, my voice steady but firm. "I'm not sneaking anywhere. Call the landlord if you don't believe me." She crossed her arms, her chins lifting defiantly. "I don't need to call anyone. I'm the HOA president. I say who gets in." The air grew thick with tension, the kind that makes your skin prickle. I could have backed down, driven away, and called the landlord myself. But something in me snapped. Maybe it was the exhaustion of moving cross-country. Or maybe it was the way HOA's smugness radiated like she owned my future. I stepped out of my car, 5'2" and nowhere near as intimidating as her. But I wasn't about to let this woman gatekeep my new life. "You're not the law," I said, my voice louder now, carrying over the hum of cicadas. "You're just a volunteer with a clipboard." Her eyes widened, and for a split second, I saw something flicker anger. Yes, but also fear. She wasn't used to being challenged. "You'll regret this," she hissed, pulling out her phone. "I'm calling the police." I shrugged, leaning against my car. "Go ahead. I'm not moving." Minutes later, 2 officers pulled up in a cruiser, their expressions a mix of boredom and curiosity. HOA launched into her tirade before they'd even stepped out, pointing at me like I was public enemy number 1. "This girl's trespassing. She's got no right to be here." The male officer, a lanky guy with a crooked smile, glanced at me, then back at HOA. "Ma'am, let's calm down. Can you show us some proof she doesn't belong?" HOA thrust her clipboard at him, a mess of papers fluttering. "She's not on the resident list." I handed over my lease and ID, my hands steady despite the knot in my stomach. The female officer, her badge reading Sanchez, skimmed the documents, then looked at HOA. This checks out. She's a tenant. HOA's face went from red to purple. That's impossible. I'd know if someone new was approved. That's when the twist hit. Sharp and unexpected. The man in the golf cart, who'd been watching silently, rolled closer. He was older, maybe 60, with a weathered face and a quiet authority. "HOA," he said, his voice low but cutting through her bluster. "You haven't updated the resident list in months. I've been telling you to fix it." HOA froze, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The officers exchanged a glance, and Sanchez's lips twitched, barely hiding a smirk. "Sounds like an HOA problem, not a police one," she said. I caught the lanky officer stifling a laugh, his hand covering his mouth. HOA's clipboard trembled in her hands. This wasn't just about me anymore. Something bigger was unraveling, and I could feel it in the way the air shifted, like a storm about to break. The man in the golf cart introduced himself as Tom, a longtime resident and former HOA treasurer. He didn't look at HOA with anger, but with something worse, disappointment. "She's been running this place like her personal fiefdom," he said, loud enough for the officers to hear. "Ignoring complaints, hiding fees, shutting out new people. We've had enough." HOA's eyes darted between Tom and me, her confidence crumbling. "That's a lie." She spat, but her voice wavered. I didn't know it then, but Tom's words were the first crack in a dam holding back years of resentment. Residents had been whispering about HOA's overreach for months, fines for unapproved mailboxes, threats over lawn ornaments, even rumors she'd pocketed HOA funds. My refusal to back down was just the spark they needed. The confrontation escalated as more neighbors appeared, drawn by the commotion. A woman in yoga pants, her toddler on her hip, called out. HOA tried to fine me for planting roses, said they were non-compliant. Another man, still in his work tie, added, "She charged me $200 for a crack in my driveway." The officers, now fully entertained, leaned against their cruiser, letting the scene unfold. HOA's face was a mask of panic, her clipboard now a useless shield. "You're all ungrateful," she shouted, her voice cracking. "I've kept this place perfect." But the crowd wasn't having it. Tom stepped forward, his voice steady. "Perfect for who? HOA. You've been bullying people for years. And those emergency funds you collected, where'd they go?" The accusation hung in the air, heavy and damning. HOA's hands shook, her eyes wild. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. The officers, sensing the shift, stepped in. Sanchez raised a hand. "All right, folks, let's keep this civil. MS. Carter, you're free to go to your home. MS. Gwen, we'll need to talk about these allegations." HOA's name in Guyan felt like a key unlocking a hidden truth. She wasn't just a caricature. She was a woman who'd built a kingdom on control, and it was collapsing. I drove through the gate, my heart pounding, but I couldn't shake the image of HOA's face, furious. Yes, but also terrified, like someone watching their world slip away. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Over the next week, Willow Creek buzzed with whispers. Tom organized a meeting, and residents poured in, armed with stories. HOA had been skimming HOA dues, funneling thousands into a personal account under the guise of maintenance fees. She'd forged signatures on contracts, bullied board members into silence, and used her power to intimidate anyone who questioned her. The evidence was damning. Bank statements, emails, even a recorded voicemail where she threatened a resident's pet. I sat in the back, stunned, as neighbors shared their pain. A single mom talked about nearly losing her home over HOA's inflated fines. An elderly couple described how she'd mocked their pleas for leniency. HOA didn't show up. She'd locked herself in her house, curtains drawn, her reign unraveling like a cheap sweater. The HOA board called an emergency vote, and HOA was ousted by a landslide. The police were involved now, investigating the missing funds. I heard she lawyered up, but the community's trust was gone. Her house, once the centerpiece of Willow Creek with its pristine lawn and gaudy fountain, became a ghost town. Neighbors stopped waving when she stepped outside. Her muumuu hung looser, her steps slower, like the weight of her actions had finally settled. I saw her once, watering her roses, her eyes distant. I wondered if she regretted it, not the money, but the way she'd made people feel small. I didn't hate her. I pitied her. She'd built her identity on control, and without it, she was just a woman alone in a too-big house. But Willow Creek didn't stop there. The community rallied, electing Tom as interim president. He was the opposite of HOA, quiet, fair, focused on fixing what she'd broken. We held a block party, my first real welcome to the neighborhood. Kids ran through sprinklers. Neighbors swapped stories. And for the first time, I felt like I belonged. I helped organize a fund to cover the fines HOA had unfairly imposed. And the single mom from the meeting hugged me, tears in her eyes. You stood up to her, she said. That's when we knew we could, too. I hadn't meant to start a revolution, but standing my ground had given others the courage to do the same. Looking back, I think about that day at the gate. I could have driven away, let HOA win, and faded into the background. But something in me refused to bend, not to her, not to fear, not to the idea that one person's ego could define a community. HOA lost more than her title. She lost the respect she thought she'd earned through fear. And us. We gained something better, a neighborhood that felt like home, built on trust instead of threats. I don't know what became of HOA after the investigation, but I hope she found a way to make amends, to rebuild what she broke in herself. As for me, I'm unpacking boxes, planting my own roses, and learning the names of my neighbors. Willow Creek isn't perfect, but it's ours now. And that's enough.